into your place that is dedicated for prayer. In the past couple of weeks, I've been at a couple of retreats or prayer seminars, prayer breakfasts that were at hotels, in banquet rooms. And there we were, in one case 250 people, in another case about 300 people. But large numbers of people in a hotel meeting room. And you know, hotel meeting rooms, they're all kind of shiny, they're all the same sort of color, the same kind of carpet, the same chair. You don't know what hotel you're in from one to the next, they all look the same. In those meeting rooms, you can't tell where you were. And for these large numbers of people to be praying in them, the space changed. But it didn't change just because they were praying. It changed because people did something with the space. In one room, at a table up at the front, 2 tall candles were placed and lit at the beginning of worship. And that hotel meeting room table went from being just one more table to being an altar. And that space stopped being a meeting room and started being a sacred place for worship. In the other, it was just about how the room was oriented. Because in one spot, 3 women who sounded like 30, I don't know where they got those lungs. They were huge in legion, those 3 women, how much sound they put out. 3 women stood in one area along with a little travel organ, and suddenly that space felt like a cathedral because of the musicians and their having a specific place in what was a meeting room. In your house right now is some place. It might be a place in your bedroom or in your kitchen or the living room or in the den. I just love the thought that it might be directly opposed to the television as an alternative for that activity, or the computer. That it might be in constant juxtaposition, those 2 things. But somewhere there is that space. That space also exists in your office. You would think in a church office that my office would be a place that is always kind of where holy and wise things happen. If you've ever spent any time with me with paper kind of flying this way, that way, where my floor becomes part of the filing cabinet, it doesn't feel very holy or wise until I stop and light the candle that resides in the middle of my desk. And it reminds me, as St. Benedict would say, that all work is prayer if we approach it with God. That space changes when we make an intentional choice. So what I'm suggesting to add to all that you've been doing is to find that space that is in your home. Some of you may have a space already, and what I would suggest is that you add to it. Put down that phrase, that verse, that prayer that you learned by heart, or some other recording of the work that you've been doing this Lent so that you can see it. Because here's the thing about these weeks we've spent in Lent, letting those bindings go so that we could be free from our tombs and prisons. We've just begun. Lent is drawing to a close, and we have just begun. That 30 minutes, and I hope you are up to 30 minutes by now, that 30 minutes of God time that's happening on a regular basis, that doesn't stop on Easter Sunday. That continues. Learning a verse that you learned already, that doesn't go away. It continues. Learn another one. Keep moving. Approaching your spiritual life or approaching God in a way that you have not done before, that doesn't stop on Easter Sunday. It all continues going on and on and on, so that we are indeed free. When I was in Myanmar, there were, I don't have a comparable description of this in the United States because we just don't see it like this, but almost everywhere everywhere we went, every town we went, there was a captive elephant somewhere in that town. It's just a very different practice, so I can't explain how we have something similar in the United States because we just don't. But there was always a captive elephant, and we were struck, the people from the US, how those elephants were chained to a stake with a chain that seemed really light. Actually, it seemed so light that I thought if I picked it up and pulled hard, they would break open. And we asked them about this. How do you get those elephants to stay on those simple linked chains like that? I know when I say chain and elephant, you're already imagining those heavy links that would be hard to pick up. Banish that picture. That's not what they were tied to. Sometimes it was something as simple as a rope. Really, really simple. So, and you could look at it and you could tell if that elephant wanted to go, it would go. And what an elephant trainer there told us is when the elephants are babies, they put them on those chains, and as babies, they cannot get away from them. And their entire lives, they know they can't pull away from that chain, and so they never try. It never crosses their minds to break free, because when they were teeny tiny elephants, the cute cuddly kind, every time they try and walk away, that chain would snap them right back. This is the way life can be for us. Those little tombs that we live in, those prisons that we've constructed for ourselves, those rules that either churches or families or organizations that have put around us that dampen our hopes and destroy the dreams that God has given to us. They can snap us back in as fast as possible when we try and make a step out at all. But here is the thing for us to know. We are not baby elephants. We are sons and daughters of God who created the universe and all that is in it. God has no intention of us staying trapped in anything. The invitation is always there. God's desire is always there to tell us to come out, remove those bindings, let it go and step into the freedom that God has planned for us, into being the people that God has planned for us, into being the church that God has planned for us. Amen.